Hi, I'm Tammy Bower and I'm with Pairsoft. And today you're going to be seeing a quick overview of DocuPeek and its integration with NetSuite, identifying the 5 signs it's time to automate your AP process. This is an overview of the Pairsoft suite of products and the range of from procurement to pay options that we have throughout our suite of products in Pairsoft. Today, we're going to focus, as I mentioned, on the DocuPeek NetSuite integration, which really identifies the AP invoice automation, the transaction automation, and document management and workflow of your product, of your invoices as they need to travel through your organization. The first reason we believe it's time to automate your AP process is your internal controls are failing you. And what does that mean? Look around. Do you have no checks and balances around who's approving a document, who is creating the transaction inside of NetSuite, and maybe who's cutting the checks, and you want to be able to have that, but you're unable to? Or maybe your approvers work remotely, and so getting the documents to and from them is time consuming, and you don't get them back in a timely manner. And you might have multiple levels of approval that increase the time it takes to get that document back to you. So if you're suffering from that, just that one area of your AP process, and you need to take control of that so that you can understand what's being purchased and what is coming due, the automation of your accounts payable process is going to be very important to having those controls put into place. The second reason it's time to automate is your delayed approvals are costing you. So again, if you have invoices that need to be approved across multiple individuals, maybe multiple locations, and you're currently sending them off via email, and you are having to remember that individuals haven't sent them back approved, an electronic workflow is going to allow you to have insight as to where those documents are at any given time. So you know when a document or an invoice is going to be late. If it's not approved, you know that you can take advantage of early pay. And all of those things, whether you are if you're not taking advantage of that early pay discount, or you're incurring those late fees, all of that is adding to the bottom line of what it's costing to process an invoice. And for me, as a former accounts payable admin, one of the things that used to drive me crazy is not knowing where that invoice was. I might have sent it to somebody, but unbeknownst to me, they forwarded it to somebody else via email and I didn't know. Well, with an electronic approval process and that automation, you're going to be able to see where a document is at any given time. The third reason is the inefficiency of the AP process that you probably currently have now really is not cost effective. It drives up costs and the bottom line for your accounting department. Think about the number of invoices that you get on a daily basis or weekly basis and the time it takes to do that manual keying. Well, if you have an AP automation tool, such as DocuPeek, you're going to be able to utilize and take advantage of our OCR, optical character recognition tool. That means when the documents are brought into DocuPeek, you're going to be able to eliminate all of that manual data entry. And I'll demonstrate that in a moment. Also, there might be some of you that are watching this video who do POs. Their invoices come in that are related to POs, and now you've got to do all of that matching. Because because DocuPeek is so integrated, tightly integrated with NetSuite, we're going to do that match for you. And we're going to show you all of those open line items for that PO that should match the invoice. And if not, you can set adjustments or make adjustments to it and set thresholds that can route the document to the purchaser or buyer for justification on maybe an increase in the line item. But all of that, if you're doing it manually, takes time. And that, again, hits that bottom line. These are just costs to keep in mind. Look at what it costs per invoice if you're doing all of this manual. And when I say manual, you might be getting the documents electronically via email and routing them via email, but you're still tracking them down manually. You still are doing manual data entry. It costs $15 per invoice. So again, do that math. If you have a fully automated solution like DocuPeek, that cost drops, by 85% per invoice. That's a huge savings. And then imagine if you're doing procurement or that PO invoice matching, $89 per invoice, and it drops again 65%. We can take that time and those costs away, which again brings you back up to minimal cost for that processing. And it shows you a real quick return on investment when you do invest in an automated tool such as DocuPeek. The fourth reason, which is a great reason to automate, is you're growing. I know during the pandemic, things kind of slowed down and organizations weren't growing as fast as they are today. But listen, if you're growing, that's fantastic. But what you don't want to do is have your staff have to grow because you're growing. It's particularly on that AP side. So if you can keep the same staff to handle the increase of the volume of invoices, that's fantastic. Because of DocuPeek and its integration with NetSuite, you're going to be able to, again, eliminate that manual data entry and that manual filing of the document. So your invoices can increase, but your staff doesn't have to. And, you know, one of the things that accounts payable doesn't usually have time to focus on is those discounts, the industry discounts that some suppliers or vendors are offering. And it's hard for them to manage those late fees. And so if we can concentrate on developing those relationships with the vendors to get those early pay discounts or eliminate those late fees that they might incurring. Again, as your invoice volume grows, you're going to be able to understand what that means on your vendor side so that you aren't incurring those additional costs. The fifth reason, and probably the most time consuming, I think, out of a certain period of time of the year, is the audit. And if your audit did not go well last year or just these last few weeks, DocuPeek is going to help you with that. Imagine being able to do a search in a database that says, give me all of the invoices between a certain date range for a certain dollar amount. And then once you get those documents, you're able to then download them, save them to a network drive, export them out so that the auditors can see them, not duplicated, not photocopied, not giving out your original, but they can see the electronic original simply by flipping through that file. So that's going to save a great amount of time from pulling the documents. And then again, always going back to my former days of an accounts payable, I always had 3 stacks of invoices on my desk. The invoices that needed to be paid, the invoices that were just paid and needed to be filed, and way back in the corner was the stack of invoices that had already been processed, already been filed at one point, and I had to pull out, so they were waiting to be filed again. Well, with an electronic system like DocuPeek, nobody's going to have to go back and refile those documents or have them sit in a stack on the back of their cubicle or their desk. So those are the 5 reasons that we believe, if you're suffering from any of these areas, that it's time to look at a document management AP transaction automation solution like DocuPeek. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to minimize my screen here, and we're going to stop this slideshow. And I'm going to just show you a few things that I talked about today in eliminating all of that time that it takes to get some of these documents processed, and streamlining that automation process and approval process with inside of your NetSuite system. So one of the things that sets DocuPeek aside from others that are out there is our true integration with inside of NetSuite. So you can see that right along the toolbar, DocuPeek becomes part of the tab selection along the toolbar. And I'm going to go into that in just a second. But imagine an inquiry comes in. And right now, I venture to say that 25 to 30% of an accounts payable person's time is spent searching, retrieving, and filing. So imagine you get a call from, let's say, Center State Electric, and they want to know the status of a particular invoice. Well, you can either go to that bill transaction, I'll show you that in a second, or you can just go right to their vendor record inside of NetSuite. Again, DocuPeek becomes part of the tab structure or the screen structure. I've got mine collapsed, but if I click on that, I can see right here with inside of NetSuite from the vendor record, the two invoices that have been processed through DocuPeek and are stored in the system. So if I, again, want to see this one, I simply click on it. DocuPeek opens up. I can see the invoice. And if I scroll down, I can also see who's approved it. Now, if I want to be able to email that out, I can. If I want to print it, I can. I hope that you don't print anything else ever again when you're using an electronic system. But I always have the ability to manage this document. So I can go right to the vendor and see all of them. Or again, in NetSuite, I can search by that invoice number, click on the bill transaction. Again, NetSuite is going to open up. It's going to take me to that bill. Here's DocuPeek, and there's the document. Again, it's a natural extension to your navigation around NetSuite. All right. That's one way of getting to the documents. Let's go into DocuPeek. When I come into DocuPeek, this is my accounts payable inbox. These are the documents that have come in that need to be processed, meaning need to be routed for approval. They're in a nice one central area. DocuPeek manages or monitors, excuse me, your email address where all of your invoices might be coming in. And we bring them into the system. And you can see as we bring them in, we are doing the data entry. So let's open up this. Remember I mentioned eliminating that manual data entry, the OCR, optical character recognition. Well, here it is. We validate, we check this information on the invoice. We validate that against your NetSuite data, and we bring in all of that information, the date, the invoice number. Now, we can also bring in coding. I can hit a magic wand, and it's going to automatically bring in any coding that might have happened in the past for this. And then I can route it to an approver, right? I can route it right for an approver. And they get it and they approve it, and it comes back and it creates that transaction. So it eliminates all of that data entry. From here, I can see if there are any duplicates, because we're gonna flag that for you. And it also will let you know if something has come back, maybe not approved. The approver rejected. Well, let's see why. And I can get all of that information again, right from a central area. Now, some of you might be asking, well, do the approvers need to be NetSuite users? Absolutely not. When somebody is an approver, they have a whole different view. They don't need to be a NetSuite user in DocuPeek. They can just get again, a login that allows them to go right to a document and approve it. They, again, see all of the distribution, and they hit a button that says approve, and now it routes it to that next step of the process. So what does this allow an accounts payable admin to do? Let's move this back over here. One, I can see what my workload is for the day. I can also come out here and see anything that's pending approval. So anything that's out there waiting for an individual to approve, I can see that very quickly. It will flag it to let you know if something is coming due very quickly, based on due dates and pay dates and early discount and all of those kind of things. But let's really quickly, before I end this video, talk about that last audit didn't go well point, number 5, right? So we kind of talked about eliminating the data entry, streamlining that process for accounts payable, giving you insight as to where the document is. Well, now let's search for documents. And this is our search screen. So I can come in here and I can filter or choose any of these areas that I want to narrow down my hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of documents. So I'm going to go into the folder name. And right here you see folder. And I want to only pull the items that are sitting in the NetSuite folder. And what does that mean? That means they've gone all the way through the approval process and a transaction has been created with inside of NetSuite via DocuPeek, right? And then maybe the auditors also want to see all of the invoices between a certain dollar amount. So I can say dollar amount greater than or equal to, let's just say $500, all right? Date, I can keep adding. But once I filter it, choose my selections, my filters, I'm going to say search. And now DocuPeek has pulled all of the documents that have created transactions in them that are over $500. So the auditors want to see them. That's great. Let's export it out. Let's send an email, maybe individually or to all the people involved. I also can see the check date and check number from here. So imagine, again, that time of year comes and you're trying to pull all of those documents. This happened within seconds. So the 5 reasons that it's time to automate, not sure if you actually, start this up again, come back out here, oops, swap this. So that audit, right? So think about that cost savings, right, that we talked about before. If you're able to streamline the process, take advantage of early pay, eliminate manual data entry, see where a document is at any given time, prepare for an audit very quickly. You're growing and you don't want to increase your staff members, right? This tool is going to allow you to do all of that and save you money at the same time. So if you take that grid that I showed before, where it costs $15 to process one invoice, if you process 10,000 invoices a year, this is your cost savings. So that was my demo on why it's time to automate your AP solution, or your AP process with our DocuPeek solution that's fully integrated with NetSuite. If you have questions, let's schedule a call. If you want a demo, we can do that as well. We can also put together pricing for you. I hope this was beneficial, and I look forward to speaking with you in the near future. Have a great day.